So today let's work on our platform part. So what we'd like to do is have our character be able to only do 2 jumps. So we'll take care of that first. So then if they keep clicking the mouse, it's not going to keep flying. Unless you want that to be part of your game, they could fly, right? But if you only want them to be able to double jump, that means 2 clicks. And then if they click more, notice I'm clicking more and it's only doing the double jump. Okay, so we'll go over how to do that. It's actually pretty easy with this little state variable that we'll use. And then we'll go over how to use a graphic and make it into a platform that the bunny won't fall through. The top of my platform's not working right now, but we'll reprogram this. Okay. Sometimes I've noticed that because this is an older version of Flash, if I program it on my computer with the newer version, it seems to work okay. And then it seems to malfunction here. But all right. So first, let's go over how to do a double jump. So everybody should have to the point. In fact, let me open up our old one that we were working on. So when we were working on it, sorry, I just noticed that you guys should have your flowing background. Okay, I just noticed I don't think I saved my flaw file maybe. Dang it. So my backgrounds aren't in here. But you guys should have your background, you know, parallax scrolling background left and right. And he was able to jump last time. We finished that part of our game. So this part of our game, what we'd like it to do, in fact, we can write this on our directions. All right, so we got up to step 3 here working last time. We made the gravity grow on every frame and then maintain our gravity at that level. We made an event listener for the mouse click. At the click, we made the gravity negative for our character and make the character's Y value a large negative value to make him go up. And then we made the character stop falling when he hits the bottom of the stage. Last time we also scrolled the background, right? Left when the character hit the left side of the screen, right? And we figured out how that kind of worked. And then we made him scroll right. Now you could disable the right if you don't want your character to be able to go, well, you know, disable the left if you don't want your character to go back the way you came. Or if you go the other direction, you could disable that pretty easily, right? You know how to comment out that if statement if you didn't want it to scroll to the left or to the right. Okay. So we scrolled the background right when the character hit the right side of the stage. All right. So now what we'd like to do is when the character hits jump twice, do not allow the character to jump anymore, right? So Now, if you wanted him to jump more, you can just not program this part or just see how to program this part and then comment it out later if you'd like him to be able to fly. Maybe he could eat like a, I don't know, or get like something special and it would allow him to fly later. You would know how to disable this part. Okay? So then you could allow him to jump a whole bunch. After we get that part working, then we'll get our platforms. So the character can land on a platform and not fall through it. So we need to do a hit test. So that we can have platforms in our game. It is a platform game. He needs to be able to jump onto some platforms and not fall through the platforms. And only fall down when he hits the edge of a platform. Okay? All right. And I think that's some good things to work on today. Then we could have different types of platforms. So we don't have all the same platform. All right. So everybody has their game up? Yes. Oh, debugging error? All right, we'll wait for debugging for a little bit here. Okay. All right. Hopefully it's mostly working. Importing the what?
Importing the background on to black.
Like this background? Apparently I didn't save my flaw, so I have to disable my background right now.
No, not that. I made my background illustrated, and then when I tried to import it to black, all the colors are gone.
That's a little We'll look at that in a second. All right. All right. So I'm going to disable my background for a second. I forgot to save my movie clip background. All right. So I was able to fly him. So we just want to be able to double jump. All right. All right. So let's see how to implement that. So how do you think you would implement something like that? So kind of think, you know, okay, so we need somewhere to count how many times we've clicked, right? So you think, okay, I got to have a variable. I got to have it of type number, and it can count if the user's clicked twice. And then you got to think, okay, well, when he clicks twice, I'll increment it. And then I need to have a check that if it's twice, don't let him be able to go up anymore. And then you have to think, well, I have to reset it so that he can jump again later on. When do you think you should reset it? Probably when he hits the ground again. Reset that variable back to 0. Then he can count again. When he counts to 2, stop him from jumping again. Reset it back to 0 when he hits the ground. Pretty easy, right? We can do this. Okay. So this is how I did it. And so you guys can implement this too. And then if you'd like him to fly, you know, you could change this variable again, have him fly at certain parts of your game, or, you know, you could do a triple jump maybe sometimes by changing this variable to 3. Okay. But what I did is I created an instance variable. I called it in air, because I guess he was in the air. You could call it number of jumps. In fact, maybe I'll implement it in my other code. So we're going to make this instance variable. Remember to make it with all your other instance variables at the top of your class. I'm going to call them num jumps this time. Number of jumps. Okay, so remember you always lowercase your instance variable names. And then this is the type he is, number. So remember this is our declaration. So declare this guy up there. And I declared him as a number. At first when I was coding this, I declared it as a Boolean. But then it made more sense to make him a number because you want to count the number of jumps that he's doing. Okay? All right. So you declare him there. And then we instantiate him or give him a value. So down here where I'm giving my other number variables a value, I kind of instantiate or initialize my number variables all together, then I know where to find them. Up at the top of the constructor, figure that's a good place to instantiate that guy. So remember, you do your declaration out here, and then you do your instantiation. Okay. All right. And then we have to use him. And you can kind of think where you're going to use him. Where is he? Oh yeah, it was on our hop function. So our hop function will look like this. Okay, let me copy and paste this. Now we had some of this code in here already for the gravity, okay, and the bunnies.y value we were changing, but now we have this in air variable that we're going to use an if statement with. So remember that our hop function or our jump function, we called him jump, last time looked like this. So we need to wrap it inside of an if statement. Okay, this is what it looked like before. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that variable and we're going to say, okay, when you're less than 2, then we'll do our jumping. Remember, that's how we made him jump before. And then we'll increment you. So he'll start out at 0. He'll get into this if statement when he's 0. It'll allow him to jump once. If they click again, in air is now 1. 1 is still less than 2. He'll get to jump again. But then in air becomes 2. That'll make the if statement false, and he won't be able to jump again. So we still need to reset the variable, but this will allow him only to double jump. Okay, you could try it out right now. So you could save it, and you can run him. Oops, I'm running the wrong one. Hold on. Oh, I forgot to change it. I called him not in air anymore. What did I call him? Num jump. Remember, it doesn't matter what you call it. Oh, did I not call it num jump? What did I call it? Oh, num jumps. Oh, and then I called him player. So then you should be able to jump once, and then when you click more times, okay, so it's completely disabled now because we need to reset that variable. But the first time you do it, you should jump twice, not let you jump anymore. But now we need to reset that variable. And you can kind of think, well, I need to reset the variable every time his feet touch the ground. I can reset that variable back to 0, so then he's allowed to jump again. Okay? So you can kind of think where you're going to put that code. Where do we know his feet hits the bottom? Right here. This is where his feet hit the bottom, right? That was in our on-enter frame event. We checked to see if the player hit the bottom of the stage there. So that's where we're going to put our reset code. Okay. So I put mine on the on-enter frame at the bottom here. It said if the player Y is greater than the stage height, you know, this made him say, hey, if I'm lower than the bottom of the stage, then keep me at the bottom of the stage. Set my Y to the bottom of the stage. So in other words, gravity's not working anymore. Okay. So to reset him, you just say, wait, that's the hit test area, hold on. Right here, I just said, okay, my variable is set back to 0. So that's all you'd have to do. Now, since we're doing more than one line of code in our if statement, remember that we do need the curly brackets now. So you'll need a curly bracket to begin your if statement right there, and a curly bracket to end your if statement. Remember, if if statements are one line long, then you don't need these curly brackets, or they're optional. But once we need more than one line to happen in our if statement, then we definitely need the curly brackets. Okay? So here's a good place to set our num jumps back to 0. So when he hits the ground, we'll set this back to 0, and this will allow this to be true again. So then we can start over, and he'll be able to double jump again. Okay? So it'll allow us to double jump, can't do more than 2, and then when he hits the ground, you can double jump again. That was pretty easy, right? That's kind of using like a little switch variable. You can think how you would change that. If you wanted to allow him to do a triple jump, you could make this into a variable and change it. Maybe certain things that he gets in your game will allow him to triple jump or quadruple jump. If you change that hard-coded 2 to a variable and then change that variable up and down, it would allow your character to do more jumps than just 2. You see how that would work? So it allows us to kind of change our game up too if you wanted to add that feature. It wouldn't be that hard. You just make an instance variable and then replace your 2 with that variable name. And then change that variable every time he like collected like a fruit or some kind of treasure or something, right? All right. Cool. So everybody got that to work, I'm assuming. That was pretty easy. Yes, no, maybe so. All right.
Where you did the y stage height, the number when you reset it back to 0?
Oh, okay. I set it back to 0 here in the on-enter frame event.
Oh, I think you did in the hop.
No, in the hop, or in the jump hop, all I did was add this if statement, and then I incremented the number of jumps. And that surrounded the code we already had here. So this was the code that was in here already.
So what did you reset in the on-frame event?
Yeah, on the on-enter frame event, I resetted it when the player hit the bottom of the stage. So hopefully you wrote notes to yourself here, where he said stop the player when he hits the bottom of the stage. I did have to add the curly brackets, because now we're doing more than one thing when he hits the bottom of the stage. And remember that this line stopped him. It set his Y value to that bottom of the stage, so he can't go below it. And then this is what reset the jumps there. And then, save it and test it. It should allow you to jump twice and then not jump anymore. And then when he hits the bottom of the stage, it should allow you to jump twice again. And you could play around with that number. Put 4 in here just to see, now I should be able 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and then after 4, he doesn't let me. See? So certain parts of your game, you could have have him able to jump higher. Okay, you could even change gravity even more negative. It would allow him to jump higher, or do quadruple jumps or something. Make it kind of fun. You guys are in charge of the creative fun part of your game. Let's program one more part, and then we'll come around and debug. Let's do the platform part really fast. All right, so the platform part. This is the fun part. I'm just going to show you what I did first, and then we'll implement it together. So let me give you a rundown of what we're going to do. Okay? All right. I made a platforms array. The reason that we made an array is so that we can loop through the array and see if the character is hitting any of the platforms, because you do have to check to see if they're doing a hit test to see if he's on a platform. So we're going to make this platforms array. Okay. Then we're going to initialize the platforms array. We're going to instantiate it. Then we're gonna make a movie clip of type platform. I called him platform 1. We're gonna make a new instance of him. I'm gonna set him on the screen. I'm gonna add him to my screen. I'm gonna push him into my array, and then I just had some debugging code. Okay. Now this is how we're going to check, and I'll go through this code slower next, but just let me do a rundown. So after we push them into the array, we'll push all of our platforms that way. We'll do one at a time, right? Then you're going to do a for loop that's going to go through all of your platforms. Now I had a rather large platforms that had 3 hit areas. Okay? And so what I did is, here, watch, I'll show you in this game here. Wait, not this one. Okay. And let's look at the methodology I used here. Okay. Now remember that this object, he is inside of, Flash, and his hit area is a box around himself, right? You have a platform. And if I had just a flat platform, that would work okay. Okay? In fact, maybe we should start with a flat one, too. We start with a flat platform. We don't have to worry about our character. If he did a regular hit test, he would stop right here up in the air, because that's where the edge of my platform is. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to make little pieces in here, put them behind the image, and then test when he hits that little piece. So we have a hit area here, a hit area here, a hit area here, here, and here, depending on how big your platforms are. Okay, now if you just had one solid platform, we'll start with one solid one, then you wouldn't have to worry about that too much. Okay. But because the way that Flash works with hit tests, we had to put a little tiny hit area so that we can test it when it hits there and not up above. All right. In fact, let me show you that image, or that movie clip. So I put it on different layers here, but pretty much, okay, here's my first hit area. Here's my second hit area 2. And here's my third hit area 3. Okay? So then when I put this image on top of those hit areas, you can't see it, but that's the hit area I'm checking when my character is falling down. Okay. So that's why, oh yeah, and one other thing, I also had to make the bunny's hit area. Now the bunny, or my character, or your character, or whatever character you have, his hit area is around himself, right? So he has like a box around himself. See that blue box? And so it looked like my character would float off the platform because the right-hand tip of his box would be part of his hit area. So I had to do the same thing to my bunny rabbit. I take him and I made a little hit area underneath his feet. That's his hit area. And I called it hit area 1. Okay, so if we deal with these hit areas, it makes it play a little bit nicer, and then we don't have floating characters and weird things that look weird. Okay? And it's really easy to implement. And I'll show you really slow in a second. We'll do it step by step, right? I just want you to know that's what that is. So we can just take a look at the code real fast. So this is what I'm testing. If the bunny's hit area, which is that blue thing under his feet, hits an object of the platform, so I have one platform right now in my array. This would be platform 0. If it hits his hit area 1, then I subtract gravity from my bunny, which keeps him from falling down, And I set my in air back to 0 because now he can jump again. So notice I had to reset my number of jumps variable. Okay. And I just did that same methodology for the other hit areas in my platform. All right. So that's pretty easy, right? I think we can do this. So let's do it step by step. All right. So first things first, let's make a platform. Now you can make a platform with a rectangle, or you can go online and get a platform, or you can make it with a rectangle right now and then replace it with your platform. Okay, no biggie. It's really easy to replace the image later. In fact, I'm just going to use a rectangle. All right. So in your flaw file, you guys can just use rectangles too, unless you have your platform ready. Go ahead and draw a rectangle. And then F8 it and call it your platform. Remember to name it with a capital letter. Now if you want different platforms, you can name it like Platform 1 or Platform 2. Remember to export for ActionScript. And then you press OK. And then I'm going to double click on this platform so that I can get into his timeline, because I want to edit this platform on his own timeline, so then, you know, we can edit. So everybody got their platform, they're editing their platform. Make sure in the left-hand corner it says you're editing the timeline for the platform. I'm going to add another layer here. I'm going to drag it to the bottom. Well, you can leave it on top for now and then drag it to the bottom in a second. So that way he'll be underneath the platform. This is where I'm going to put my hit area. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do the hit area. Even though this platform is pretty rectangular, you could get away with not having a hit area here. It's when they're weirdly shaped that you really need this. But we'll show you the technique here. All right, so I can lock the bottom layer so I don't mess it up if you want. The top layer is your blank keyframe layer. That's the layer we're going to draw our hit area on. Then I'm going to take another rectangle. I usually use rectangles for this. I'll even change the color. And I'm going to draw a hit area here. I'm going to select that rectangle. I'm going to F8 him. And I'm going to call him type hit area. So I'm also making him a movie clip. And the reason we want to make our hit area movie clip is so that we can test that if they're touching each other. Remember, movie clips, the hit test requires 2 movie clips. Okay? All right. Now, it doesn't matter how thick this hit area is. So I can make his height 1 pixel if I want. Or 2 pixels. It seems to work better when it's skinnier. That way, you know, it only kind of tests when it's on top of him. All right. So I got my hit area. If you want it, you know, the bunny to, or your character to kind of sink into your background, then you make this a little bit lower or whatever. All right. And then you take that layer and you put it on the bottom of your other layer, and then you can't even see the hit area. Oh, I forgot one important thing though. Before we do that, make sure you select your hit area and give him an instance name. Okay, this is how we're going to call him up in our code. And I'm going to give him the instance name hit area 1. Okay. So remember that he's part of the platform object. He's a variable. He's like an instance variable in that platform object called hit area 1. That's like having an instance variable. And then, yes, I will put that layer below my other layer so you can't see him, but he's still there. Okay? Everybody kind of get that? Should we make another one? You guys got that? Maybe we'll implement this guy all the way and then we can make another one. All right, so we got a platform, we got his hit area. We can go back to scene 1. We can actually delete him off the stage now because we want to add him through our code. Okay, there he is, platform. All right. So we're going to make him like we traditionally make all of our objects. So I can add all my platforms all together. So you know you're going to add more than one platform. Hopefully. Wouldn't be much of a platform game if we... Oh, wait. We need to make the array up here. So this will be our platforms array. We do not need to instantiate or make an instance of all of our platforms because we're going to insert them in the array and keep track of them that way. So we don't need to make them all instance variables. I thought, man, that would be way too many instance variables and way too hard to track. Let's just have an array keep track of our platforms. Okay? So we'll make that array. And then we'll come down here in our constructor. Construct him where you construct your other variables. And I'll say, okay, platforms, you are a new array. And voila, we have a new array to put our platforms in. And I'm going to cheat a little bit and copy and paste this code. All right, and I'll wait a couple minutes for you guys to catch up too. But this is how I created it. And let's see, inside of my class in my library, yes, I did name it a platform. So this would actually be platform. So let's see what we're doing here. We can even write comments in here. We're making an instance of our platform. So a platform object, which is that brown object over there. Remember that we're making an instance of him. We're setting his X and Y. I don't care what you set as X and Y. You can set these to random, or you can have set places where you know you want it. You can even make an array of your X, Y values. Okay, or you could just hard code it like I did, which is easiest. But remember, this is where he's going to show up on the stage. In my other stage, I had 1200 by 800. That's why these numbers are large. On this stage, how big are you? You're 800 by 500. Just make sure that these numbers are within range of your stage. Okay. And then this adds them to the stage. Remember, if you want platforms added later, you could have platforms appear later. You could add them later. Okay. And then remember that this right here, this line of code, puts that platform into our array. Okay. And then that trace statement I just wrote for testing purposes. Remember that you can write some trace statements. You're okay. All right. Cool. So this should add your platform to the stage and into your array. So you can save him and you can run him. make sure you're running the right one. And he doesn't like what I wrote. But he should run. All right. Now, if it's behind everything else, it's where we added him. Yeah, you could either change him to the beginning of your constructor, or you can use the add child at. Notice that there's an add child method, stage.add child, and then there's a different method called add child at. And the add child at, you can actually designate which layer to put him on. So the second parameter would say like the 0 layer. Okay. Or stage.numChildren. If you want him to put him on the top, then you would do something like this. Okay. And this would put him at the end or at the top of the stage. Because that's the length. And you can think of the stage as having an array of all its children. And this would insert it in the array at the end of the array so he'd be on top of everybody else. Okay? So if that happened to you, either remember that it adds things to the stage in the order of your code. So you could put your code to add him to the stage at the beginning of the constructor. Or at the end of the constructor, actually. To put him on top, yeah, put him at the end of the constructor to put him on top of everything. Or just use the add child. Well, actually, even this here probably wouldn't add him right, actually, because we haven't added the other things. So if it is adding him behind everything else, just take this code and put it at the end of your constructor. That's what I would suggest. Put him after you've added your other things. So right before your event listeners. No biggie. For some reason, now my game keeps on trying to run this other code, which is just silly. So that one's okay. Even though I do have them set for platform game here. All right. Oh, you know what's going on, maybe? Oh, I see what I did. You guys probably didn't do the same thing I did, but if you did, Notice that one of my games is called platform.as, and then I named this movie clip the same name, and it started getting mixed up. It started calling the constructor to the other game. So, I'm going to rename this guy. You guys don't have to. If your game's working fine, you don't have to name that, rename him. That's what was going on. There we go. All right. Now notice that he'll still float through the platforms because we haven't told him a hit test yet, right? But your platform should appear on your screen. Okay. But he will just float through the platforms because we haven't told him not to float through the platforms yet, right? We haven't done that hit test. All right, so the last part here is to do our hit test. All right. So let's look how to do our hit test. Now we're going to do the hit test on the on-enter frame event, or on-frame enter event. Okay. And the reason we want to do it here is because we want to check to see if our player has hit any of the platforms inside of, inside of this event. So somewhere in your on-enter frame, probably at the end here, we're going to check to see if the player is touching any of the platforms. And if they are, then we want to not let him fall through the platforms. We want to tell him to stay on top of the platform. And we're going to use the same kind of methodology we did right here. Okay, where we made him stop at the bottom of the screen, we're going to make him stop on the platform the same way. Okay? Remember that you could have coded this different ways. In fact, if you did, I would like to see the way that you coded this. Okay. Now the way that I kind of thought of it is I made a for loop that'll go through all of our platform objects. Okay. So remember that this is a regular type for loop that loops through and iterates through our array. Okay. And so it goes from index 0. Remember, we're going to use this I as our index. It'll go from index 0 to less than length and increment through the array indices. And then we'll just do a simple if test. We'll say, okay, if our bunny, now you guys don't have hit area in your player, so you guys can leave out this here, okay, until you make a hit area in your player. So you guys don't have to put that part. So you'll just put bunny.hitTestObject, or not bunny, player.hitTestObject. We'll do player. In fact, let me change this code. So player.hitTest. This is going to go through all my platforms, and yes, I only have one right now. Now, if it's hitting the hit area 1, so that means all of my platforms have to have this hit area 1, otherwise my code will break. Be quiet. Okay, so all of your platforms will have to have this hit area 1. That's the little blue line that we made the instance name for. So all your platforms will have to have that if you have this code here. Okay. So then you'll say, okay, your Y value, and what I did is I just subtracted the gravity. I don't know if that was the best way to do it. Sometimes it looks like he's rising up from the dead. Alternatively, what could you put here? You could go platforms I.Y. Okay, so alternatively, maybe I'll even put that here. Okay. If you make him eat that or equal that platform's Y value, as long as his crosshair is on the top of the platform, his Y value should be at the top of that platform. Okay. And then I set that num jumps variable, this is actually my num jumps variable, back to 0 because now you want to allow him to double jump again because he's hit ground. Yes, Peter?
Shouldn't we have it set player dot y equals platforms dot y minus player dot y?
Oh yeah. Well, I think, is my player's y value on the bottom? I can't remember. If it's not, then yeah, you might have to adjust this number a little bit. Yeah, by the player's height. Good thinking, actually. But do you see how this is working? So it's looping through our array of platforms. You'll want to check to see if it's hitting that hit area of your platform. So remember, all of your platforms will have to have this hit area. Otherwise, we'll have to check what kind of platform it is. We'll have to add a little tiny bit more code. And then you're just setting his y value so he won't fall through the platform. You make him stop. And then this sets his num jumps back to 0. So and she's fine, Jordan. All right. I made my platform too high. He can't get up high. So you might have to make his platform a little bit lower. Actually, that was the one I had on the stage. So I could lower it down here for him. Actually, that one he's not going to respond to because that wasn't part of my array. So remember, if you add them through the stage here, they're not going to be part of your array. He will not respond to them. So let's see. Where I added this is right here. Oh, yeah, and it did. It made him jump down. Look at it. Because his y value was at the top of him. Watch. Oh. So I need to subtract his height of the player. Does everyone see what happened? He responded to the platform, but his y value is on his head. So it made his head hit the top of the platform. So I need to subtract his height. So yeah, Peter was correct in saying that we need to subtract his height. Okay, so right here, I need to subtract, because remember I need him to go up, so I need to subtract my player dot height. So then his feet will hit the platform and not his head. There we go. Oh, there, he's so nice. Now the only thing is, maybe we need to figure out how to do this. But notice that this hit test is going to be true when he comes up near the platform, and so it makes it true. Do you guys see how that if statement's true?
What if we make it so that
it checks to see if it's in the air or something, right? Very good thinking. So I can make him not respond if he's not jumping in the air, maybe. So that means I would just change this if statement a little bit. This if statement was turning true because he was hitting. That hit area was true. You know, I was hitting him. So what you could do here is you could make another part of your Boolean statement, say and, so then both parts have to be true. And num jumps is, let's say, greater than 0. So in other words, he's in the air. He's not on the ground. Okay? Oh, wait. That didn't work. Oh, I know why that didn't work. Why didn't that work? Because he turns back to 0 when he hits the platform. That's not going to work. What should we do? That one's not going to work. Sorry. Peter?
we could do where it only does it when the gravity is negative. So he's coming down.
Oh, okay. We could try that. So, and gravity is less than 0. I think because the way I did my gravity, it still is growing. It doesn't actually set it equal to 0. we still have our jumping problem. It's okay if he works like that for now. We'll figure out. We probably need maybe a state variable called onPlatform. If we had a state variable called, you know, onGround or something. But for now, we could just leave this part out. All right. Let's do one more platform together of a different size, and then we'll break, and you guys can work, and I'll come around and help, right? All right. So I'm going to make another platform, and this time I'm going to make a platform. So this is my platform 1, right? It was just a nice flat platform, kind of boring. What if I wanted to make a platform a different size or shape? So maybe I'll have a platform that looks like this. Maybe I have steps in my platform, things like that. So kind of like, you know, when I had this platform over here. There he is. So if you had like weird shaped platforms, which look kind of cool in a platform game, they make sense. How would you implement something like that? And we can use the same kind of methodology. Okay, so I'm going to select my platform I just made. And Control G, and you can see the problem right now. His hit test area is that blue area. When my player jumps up on that blue area, he's going to hover over that white part there. And that's not going to be very good. Okay? All right. But I'm going to double click him. Well, actually, sorry. I forgot to make him in a movie clip. I got to make him into a movie clip. So F8 him.
You Control G him too?
Yeah, I Control G'd him. So I made them all one unit. And then I'm going to F8, and I'm going to call this guy Platform 2. And export for ActionScript. Okay, so this will be my different size platform. And then you could take this, you know, methodology and make all different kinds of platforms. I'm going to double click him, and now I want to make his hit areas. So making hit areas is pretty easy. Remember, I like to go over to my timeline and make a new layer first. I like to lock my old layer and unlock the layer that I'm going to make the hit area, so that way they don't interfere with anything else. I can pull them off and look at them, right? Usually I put my hit areas all on different layers. So I'll make my first hit area here. Okay. Actually, you know what I did last time? Sorry. What I did is I took this hit area from before and just used him. So that way I didn't have to make a million hit area movie clip objects. I started out making a million hit area movie clip objects, but it makes more sense to use the same hit area over and over again. So then you just make one hit area movie clip object, you can use them. All right, what's important here is that you name that hit area movie clip. So remember, you're editing your platform, you added a hit area, name it hit area 1. And then you could add a second hit area. or a third, or a fourth. Remember, you name his instance. Name it hit area 2. And if you wanted a third one, you can name it hit area 3. Guess I can make a third one. So remember, it's important that they all have separate instance names that are unique so it doesn't get confused on what you mean. Okay? So I have hit area 3, I have hit area 1, I have hit area 2. This is in my platform 2 type object. Makes sense, right? All right, I'm going to save that guy. Got them all built. I can delete him from the stage. Well, actually, you know what I should have done is I should have put the hit areas behind the other one. But remember, you just drag that layer. So if you forgot to do that like me, go to platform 2 again, just drag that layer behind the other layer and your hit areas are hidden. Remember that. Okay? Then I'm going to copy and paste some code. We can look at him. So a platform game does take a little bit of code, right? A little bit of code, then, you know. But a lot of it is copying and pasting. Okay, so here's what I did. Let me make sure this works. Remember, you can label your ending brackets so you don't get mixed up. All right. And actually, I shouldn't have gotten any null point errors. And what did I call them? I thought I called them 1, 2, and 3. So on platform 2, I have hit area 1, I have hit area 2, and then I have hit area 3. So all my platform 2 objects should have those 3 hit areas. And then my platform 1, let's go look at him. and his is hit area 1. I think I know where I messed up, actually. That's okay. All right, let's add him as an instance. I think I messed up mine when I added him as an instance up here. Oh, no, I didn't. Now remember, if you want to add the second platform, you'll do the same kind of methodology. You don't need to reinstantiate your array, but you do need to copy and paste this stuff. Okay, so this would make a second platform. So this would be making another platform. And if I want to make a platform of my instance number 2, now remember, you also have to change this variable name. So I'm going to name him P2. I want to change where he shows up on the screen. And remember that you can do him off the stage and then have him float in too. Okay. And then add him to the stage. And then push him into our array. Right, so that was just copy and paste code. You can run them and see your new platform on the stage. Oops. And I added him like way too far down. Alright, so when you run him, you should see your platforms on the stage. Now he's not responding to your platform yet because we haven't told him to. Alright, that should be pretty easy to do. And then in our for loop, remember that we added that new platform to our array so we can loop through and see. Now I added this line of code here that checks to see if my platform object where I'm currently in my array is a platform 1 object, then check just hit area 1. If my platform's object is a platform 2 object, then I need to check area 1 and area 2. And this could actually be an else if. That's where I was getting my error, actually. Probably. And remember that this is all inside of that for loop. So you're checking to see, hey, is the player hitting, if this is a platform 1, check to see if it's just hitting hit area 1. If this is a platform 2 object, I have hit area 1 and hit area 2 that I need to check. And that makes sense, right? And then if you had a platform 3 object, you could check platform 3 and its hit areas. If you had a 4th kind of platform, you could check platform 4 and so on and so forth. All right. You can see that now he is actually, and he should actually fall down right here. And I might have to change where my platforms are. Okay. Oh, and one thing I forgot, right here, that's why he was floating up. Do you see when he hits platform 2, he doesn't go down in this area? Because I told him to stay at that Y value. So what I need to do is go right here, and if he's hitting the second hit area, say like either plus 10, or you could go over here and say dot hit area 2 dot Y. Okay, he didn't like that part. I think I know why. It's going to his internal stage. I'll just add 10 right there. There he goes. Then he kind of goes down there. All right. All right, I think this is a good place to kind of pause, make sure everybody's is kind of working, and then you guys can work on making some more platforms and adding it to your code. I'll upload this code just in case something went wrong with your code. You can look at my code again, okay? But remember to add comments in here. If you take my code, make sure you add comments, all right? So right here, I'm going to stop recording.